So recently, I actually found myself in kind of a weird predicament where I found a gigantic flaw, not only in my own guitar playing, but something that I've seen in actually 95% of guitar players across all social media platforms. And it's quite crucial. So here's what happened. You see, this all started a couple months ago when I was actually watching a video from one of my newer guitar playing friends. His name happens to be Samurai Guitarist, and he is incredible. In a haze of bravery, he actually decided that he was going to show the entire internet a video of him reacting to all of his old guitar playing and all of his old recordings. Now, why am I calling something like that a haze of bravery? Is it because I think Samurai doesn't have the skills or he's come a long way? None of that at all. It's because I know how guitar players think. Samurai happens to be one of the best guitar players I've ever been in a room with. I mean that. The dude is world class if you ever see him in person. But I know just how difficult it can be to look back at yourself from a more experienced state of mind, from someone who's better than you were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Just to watch that can be a really hard experience, no matter how good you were or how good you are. But knowing all this, I still clicked on the video and I instantly noticed, I was like, this is some of the best content I've watched in a long time. And I mean, I just intently sat there because I'm not just watching one, not two, but I'm watching all 3 parts intently. My eyes cannot leave the screen. I mean, I'm studying, I'm literally taking notes on every part because I'm thinking to myself, on a deeper level, this video isn't just about reminiscing about old memories. It's about seeing where someone came from and how they got to where they are as a guitar player, step by step, and analyzing those and seeing, oh, this moment was really crucial for me. Oh, I remember this moment. And while I personally am nowhere near the skill level on the guitar that Samurai Guitarist is, or probably was, I thought about something interesting in that moment because I was actively inspired and I wanted to see, could I do my own look back? Could I look back at my old recordings and maybe brave some of the embarrassment and see what I could learn? I wasn't necessarily going to show it to the entire internet. I just wanted to see for myself if I could sit down 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, maybe even 7 if I was really feeling it, and just listen to some of these recordings. See if I had made any progress and see if maybe I could learn something. Now, first things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. But first thing in this situation I had to do was I had to log into Google Drive, right? I had to see where these recordings were, where had I put these things. And upon logging in, I noticed something. It's that none of the recordings were there. And I remembered that I had deleted like 99.9% of them just out of embarrassment. So I had really no clue where to go. So I looked on every search engine, every Dropbox, every storage unit on the internet that you can think of. And eventually, unfortunately, they did exist. At least some of them. So I did the bravest thing that anyone could do in that moment. I took my headphones. These are my Audio Technicas, by the way. I placed them on my ears. And right before I started listening, I thought to myself, maybe it won't be that bad. You know, guitar players like to overhype sometimes how bad they were. Maybe it's not as bad as I remember. Maybe I actually might have been kind of good. So I pressed play and I actually started listening. And it wasn't even that it was just bad. It was like even worse than I had remembered. I mean, my ears cried in agony as I listened to this.
Whisper to the wind, screaming, please don't let me win.
There's nothing redeeming about this. There's literally nothing.
Not a friend could call my bluff until
I don't think anyone's ever written a worse bass line.
exhale.
That was the worst drum fill in history. Now, my instant reaction was like anyone's, because you have a couple of options. You can be super nice to yourself. You can say, I was just young. You can be super, like, tear yourself down and be like, I'm just crap and I was awful. But I decided to do something in the middle. I wanted to be realistic. So I was like, what advice, if I had a time machine, actually, if I could Skype or Zoom or FaceTime my younger self, what would I tell him about these recordings that he was probably really proud of in the moment? But nevertheless, like I was saying, really honest advice. So first of all, you have to tell him, all right, so here's the deal, bro. I'm going to be completely and utterly honest with you. You are doing like 97% of this wrong. But I'm going to try and be constructive. Yeah, don't get mad at that. I'm going to try and be constructive. I'm going to try and help you. You ready? The songwriting's garbage, the arrangement is awful, and don't get me started on the vocals. It's bad, homie. It's really bad. But I'm going to try and level with you as simply as I can, because we can't fix all of those things right now. That'll take literally, I haven't fixed all of those things. I'm really bad at a lot of those things. But there's one thing I do want you to take note of, because I know you care, right? And it's something. Okay, here's the thing. Listen up right now, because I'm about to tell them. It's something that 95% of guitar players, I feel like, don't care enough about. And that's not your actual tone. Because I know you're using a nice guitar. I know you're using, I think, either Martin or the Eastman. That's right? Yeah. The thing that 95% of guitar players get wrong isn't the actual tone. It's the capturing of that tone. Because I'm your future self and I want to help you out, buddy. So I'm going to show you in depth how to fix that. So here's how we're going to do this. If we're going to be helping this kid capture the sound, we're going to need a couple of things. The first of which is a guitar, a proper guitar for this style of song, right? Now, I usually wouldn't necessarily go to a Martin because I know he's trying to do pop stuff and Martins have a little bit more of a vintage sound, but I have this Martin with the cutaway that seems to have a more modern sound. So this is what we're gonna try. Second thing, we're gonna have to actually mic this up. And here's where we get into a million different options, a million different scenarios, but it really comes down to what's gonna fit the vibe of the actual song, right? Because there are really three main types of microphones that people use when capturing the sound of something like an acoustic guitar. First of all, you have ribbon mics. These are older. You've probably seen them on like late night talk TV. This is the kind of mic that like Elvis Presley would use. If I wanted a really vintage acoustic tone, that's what I would go for. But since we're doing the pop thing right now, I'm gonna put this away. Our next type of mic is actually called a dynamic microphone. Mics like these are really good on electric guitars. Mics specifically like this one, which is based on an SM7B, which is the mic that Michael Jackson would use in the studio, has been used on a lot of vocals. You've probably, I guarantee you've seen something like this on a podcast. It can at times give you a really great tone for acoustics, especially if you're in an untreated room. But again, for the pop thing, it's not necessarily what we're going for right now. So I'm gonna put this away. And really, we only have one option left, right? And these are called condenser mics. These are the things most often used on vocals and acoustic guitars. And we happen to have a really special one right here. See, this is the Telefunken TF39. It's a large diaphragm tube condenser. If you know anything about the history of condenser mics, Billie Eilish, Stevie Wonder, Ariana Grande, Mac Miller, the list goes on of people who have made Telefunken mics legendary. So let's see if I can match even like 2% of their quality. So two things you need to know from the jump that are super important before we start recording. Number one, this mic is not like the dynamic mic that I just showed you. That mic is very durable. It was made almost with the assumption that someone's gonna drop it or that it's gonna be used in rougher circumstances. This is a very fragile mic. Number two, usually with condenser mics, you need 48 volts of phantom power. But remember what I told you before, this is a tube mic, so it comes with its own power supply. But here's the thing, younger me, that I know you don't want to hear, but you need to. Right now, you don't need to think like a guitar player. You need to think like an engineer. And engineers have a big reputation for taking a long time to get a lot of things done because they are so meticulous. They want to get everything done right. That's what you need to do. So right now, the most important thing you're gonna do, it's called getting it right at the source. That means we're not gonna fix anything in post. You're not gonna try and EQ the crap out of it. You're gonna try and get it right here, right now. Even if you spend an hour on mic placement, that's what's gonna separate you. That's what's gonna put you in that 5%. So take note of everything. Where are you in the room? What's the best direction where the sound's not going to be bouncing off any of the walls? Normally, a lot of engineers like to place the mic around 12 inches from the 12th fret, and then maybe angle it in a little bit just towards the body. So your next step, which is as important as any, I promise you, using your headphones or using your monitors and literally just listening and making adjustments where you need to. I was pretty happy with that. I may want to back it up, not even an inch, probably a quarter of an inch. It's the same exact process for if you were recording, say, an electric amp. You just gotta find a sweet spot. And yes, I did just put a condenser mic on an electric amp. Sometimes that sounds good, sometimes that's the tone you're going for. I've seen people do that before. There really are no rules, it's just trying everything out. I'm just giving you some guidelines. Well, there is actually one rule. Don't use 48 volts of phantom power on your ribbon mic. You will ruin that mic. Trust me, you don't want to be in that scenario. So here's the deal, younger Mike. You're gonna have a lot of upcoming changes when it comes to your musical journey over the next couple years. If I were to give you any last piece of advice, I would just say, invest in GameStop, please. But in all seriousness, there really are so many things that we worry about as guitar players. Things that are super important, like our chops, like our technique, how fast we can play, how much we can play in time, and those are all important. Well, one of the things that I hate to see, especially on social media, is when a guy has really, really great tone, or when he has really great chops, or played the perfect take of that solo, and it's just not recorded very well. I think especially for acoustic, there are just so many different ways to shape your specific sound, where learning to use a microphone, learning to record, learning the different parts of how to get outside of your head as a guitar player, how to actually think like an engineer, will take someone to the next level and to the next level after that. Maybe not the next level after that, because I think at that point you're pretty much like Michael Brower. But recording has been a passion of mine for about 7 or 8 years, and it's cool to see the different ways in which I've gotten better, even from some of those cringier days when I was listening to some of those songs that I can't even fully listen to nowadays because they just make my ears bleed. But tell me in the comments if you want a full reaction to any of those songs I might have left, because I might have a couple and they're super embarrassing. I'm talking about my first ever recordings. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. It was so much fun just to be able to check out the Telefunken, to show you guys some new recording techniques, some of the stuff that I've been doing recently, some of the ways that I get like some of the best acoustic tones I've ever gotten in my life. If you want to know anything more about the TF39 from Telefunken, got it from the homies at Sweetwater. The link is in the description. It's one of the best ways to support the channel if that's something you want to do, or if you're just curious about any of the other gear that I use in this video. Make sure to check out those links. Like and subscribe if you had a good time, and most importantly of all, have a fantastic day.